Good Tuesday morning. Hope everyone is having an amazing day. We just listened to a little slander to start the day off, and let me close out of this. So we are good to go, and we are ready to rip the stream. We are live. It is 9:27 a.m. Eastern time. We're looking at, I have Bitcoin pulled up. I don't know why, just happening on the screen. But the plan of attack for today is I have no open positions, and we are going to be looking for something that maybe fits the criteria. I did some charting yesterday, so I have a list of a couple stocks that I'm interested in, or a couple charts that I'm interested in, and then we'll kind of go from there. But it should be pretty chill, pretty laid back. It's not going to be anything crazy. I'm not, trading on the 1 minute time frame. You know what I mean? I mostly am looking for daily charts that align, and then fitting a trade setup inside of that if I can find one, ideally. So it's got to fit the bigger time frames first, which is where we stick to the daily charts initially. But yeah, I have no open positions. Last week was a profitable week. It was, if I had stopped on Wednesday afternoon, I would have been much, much better off last week. But it is what it is. The trades on Thursday, Friday just didn't work. So they weren't bad trades. So looking back, they weren't bad. They just didn't work. So it is what it is. We'll see if we can get back on the, no, we weren't really on the red side, but we can get the, I think it's like 5 in a row that we lost. So we had a pretty good, they were all small, relatively speaking, they're smaller losses. But I think I had 3 green trades to start off the year, and then I had 5 in a row that all lost, believe it or not. But we're still green, so that's good. That's good risk management, right, I guess. We'll see if we can keep it that way. Hopefully we can. We should. But, never know. Win rates, are going to be up and down. They'll oscillate for a good bit. The interest that I have is going to be on AMD at a minimum first. The problem that I have with AMD, though, is that it's up a lot in pre, and I just don't really know. I'm not going to trade it off the first 5 minutes, I tell you that. Here's the pre-market on AMD. It does look pretty good. What's going on, Millen? Hope you guys are having a good. Hope everyone who's tuning in is having a great Tuesday so far. If you don't mind, thumbs up. I really appreciate that. My plan is to do more streams in the morning. I think the plan is to do Tuesday, Thursday mornings, and then do Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the afternoons. That could change. That's the plan for now. But here's AMD. I like this a lot. I really do, actually. It's actually a really good setup. In my opinion, here's the 1 hour chart. You have a beautiful setup. This is honestly worth a shot. But, the problem is that it's going to be the market's opening now. Here, alerts are going off as I'm speaking. So I'm going to have, alerts going off, which I'll come over and check out in a second. I don't know. I want to give it 15 minutes, you know what I mean, ideally, before I do anything. So hopefully AMD stays below that blue line for the next 15 minutes and then eventually crosses it. Then it's a trade. But if it doesn't, we'll see where it's at. But I do like that setup the most on the 1 hour time frame. A break over 151 on AMD probably sets you up for a push. It's breaking now as I speak. Probably sets you up for a push to all-time high test, which would be around 165. I would be targeting, if I was to trade this, the stop loss that I would have now as initially would be probably under 145. And then so entry at 151, 145 stops, about a $6 risk. And then so I'm looking to make probably about 12, which I think is very doable because 151 and my all-time high here is 165. So you can literally shoot for 163 and be looking at a 2-to-1 risk reward and take profits just before all-time highs in case it rejects all-time highs, which is not a bad spot to be taking profits. So I kind of like that idea. The problem is that it may go a little early on me, but we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. First 15 minutes, we'll watch it. And if it has good volume as well, then, and if it's not too far up, I'd consider it. Problem is it is up, 4% almost on the day. So just, be aware of that. NVIDIA is up a little bit as well. That's going for a new high. Not super surprised there, but that's a little more, I would say, reasonable because it's not up as much, a little bit easier to look at that and go, oh yeah, it looks pretty good. But AMD's up just a lot really fast. Now AMD's had big days. It can totally go. Tesla, geez, is down another 2.5% on Tesla. That does not look good. That looks like it's breaking down below another key level on Tesla from this morning. Tesla just looks like shit. Stock's been getting nailed. It's funny because you have a really interesting environment. You've got stocks like Tesla getting battered right, to the downside the past couple weeks. And then you look over at AMD and you're like, holy shit, this thing is just going for new highs. It's complete opposites. And even Meta as well. Meta's looking very, very strong. Microsoft up another percent. Microsoft's pushing a new high. Look at that. Microsoft. So you got some stocks that are super strong and some stocks look like shit, which is weird, but it is what it is. A lot of red to start off. Semiconductors is the only sector I see that's green here initially that I'm following. The 10 years up back over 4%, which is not super crazy, but it's notable. You probably have weakness, I would say. The dollar's up 0.5%, which is a pretty nice move on out of its consolidation. You probably have really big weakness in risk on. Yeah, ARK's down 2%. Yeah, that chart does not look good at all. Coinbase is down 1%. A bunch of these stocks are down a few percent. Upstart's down 4%. Yeah, a lot of those charts look very similar. Unity, yeah, they look very similar on those charts. Not that I really would be interested in those right now because they've been weaker lately. But I did get an alert for BABA. I'm gonna actually jump over to I made a list here. Is BABA not on this list? Oh, you know why? Because BABA was a short play. Market's been strong. Yeah, here's BABA. I was thinking about this yesterday. Now, the problem is it just gapped down too much today, so I didn't got to give it some time. But I was thinking, hey, if it breaks below the 71 area, roughly, could be a decent short setup with a risk of 73.50 and then targets down into the mid to upper 60s, somewhere in here. Problem is that you gap down from 71.80 close roughly last week to now $70 and down 2.5%. The chart though on BABA, I will say, does not look good. So if I had to short something, I probably would short that. But let's see. Yeah, that looks like a pretty decent opportunity in my opinion. Because you really, not that you've been trending down, which is great. Like, you know, you've got the trend to the downside, and now you're putting pressure on lows at the bottom of this. If you want to call this a consolidation wedge, you can call it a wedge of consolidation. You're putting pressure on that. If you time it right, like this could be a good trade, a good breakdown trade on BABA. We'll see how, you know, if it sets up and follows through. But the problem that I also would have, well, is it that big of a deal? Not really, because earnings is not until February or January 31st, which is 2 weeks. So I wouldn't hold it more than 2 weeks, likely anyway. It's not that big of a problem. So yeah, that's something. I'll come back to that. It's something to keep on the back burner, but interesting. I was looking at a bunch of these. These are ones I charted out the past couple of days that looked interesting. GM did look interesting. It no longer does. I can probably get it off the list because it was looking like it was going to break this flag and then it failed. So that was last week's situation. Let me get that off the list. CVX, why do I have this on the list? Because I guess if it breaks below here, maybe it's interesting. Not right now. KO, I don't really think I would trade that, but it's a nice chart, so I just put it on there. Costco, yeah, not surprised. Costco, it kind of burnt me on Friday because I traded it on Friday and stopped me out, kept the stop super tight, and then it eventually went through and hit the targets I was looking for at the end of the day. This does look good. You're pushing up to a new all-time high on Costco with some nice little flags and stuff. It looks great with some good volume. It looks good on Costco. Costco looks pretty good, but you know, I'm not really going to trade that. Yeah, it's not going to do anything with it, but it does look good. EQIX, that's breaking out of this downtrend. Was the trade on this one would have been on Friday. That would have been Friday. So that's a miss on that one, but at least I want to watch it and keep an eye on it and get familiar with it. Berkshire Hathaway, why do I have that? Oh yeah, because just in case it breaks above this 3069 could be interesting, although I don't know if it's really worth it, but it could be good if it holds up a high or low here and it breaks that level. This could be a nice push for a new high over the highs that we saw back in September, believe it or not, which was up around 137. Yeah, I mean, easily can break those highs if it breaks that level. And then BlackRock was one that I was putting on the list. Yeah, because BlackRock is setting up in potentially a flag. We'll see what happens the coming days. I have an alert there if it breaks 819 on that. Kind of crazy to think about that, but the reason why I like that a lot is because you were in this area of consolidation for a long time, and then you had this very strong move to break out of it, and now if you consolidate here, I think you can get a very powerful move if you break this consolidation to the north and follow with momentum. That would be really big. That's not right now, but that's what I think is potentially possible on that. And then T-Mobile, funny that some of these stocks I have not pulled up in a long time, but chart looked good. It did look a lot better yesterday and then today. But hey, if this reversal, if this lower wick ends up holding up and we kind of put pressure back up on this level, this could be a good trade. If it can break up to over 164. Not a super crazy fast moving stock, but I mean, it's a beast. Look at the beast. Super strong, very nice, like playing the trend, just doing your thing. That's really all it is. So that's the list that I had. Go back to my day trade list, my usual suspects. Yeah, AMD is up over 4% already. I like the idea for the swing trade. My concern, though, is it is a little early, but is that necessarily a terrible thing? I don't know. So 15-minute candle in. The problem that I had, and this is kind of the rule of thumb that I'm starting to test. So far, I like that volume. That volume is good. We are only 8 minutes in, and this is actually a massive signal to me that to honestly get in. I honestly might get in this right now because this volume is huge. You're 8 minutes in. I'm on the 15-minute chart, and you've got really good volume. So I like that. I might get ready for it and potentially throw some money at it. But yeah, the targets, like we were saying, would be stop loss 145. It would be my stop loss, which is the lows of Friday and pre-market low this morning, I guess. And then targets would be 163 to 165, which is just below the all-time high on AMD. I wouldn't be targeting a new all-time high. I would probably target just shy of that. That's the way my brain works and how I would go about it. But volume does look, let me just take a peek here and see if I can pull this up. Because I'm looking at volume, opening 15 minutes. On average, 5.8. That's interesting. Yeah, the first 15 minutes of the day is kind of like that time that I usually don't trade at all for day trades. The only exception would be a swing trade, which also failed me last week. But if I just zoom out, I'm zooming out and I'm looking at where we currently sit on this. I'm going to just draw a horizontal line on the top of the 15-minute volume so far. There's only a couple of days, well, dating back to mid-November, there is a day here where we traded more on the first 15 minutes of the day, and that was a massive range day. AMD went from 120 to 128 the same day, which is a massive move, and that was on high volume. We have actually potentially maybe even more volume setting up right now on AMD, which is why it just confirms the breakout even more to me. So if you do the math on that, like what am I looking to risk on something like that? So on the 25K prop, I don't want to lose more than $200 on a swing trade, and I don't want to lose more than like 150 on a day trade. That's kind of my numbers right now. So if you do the math on that, that would put you at approximately 50 shares. 50 shares times maybe 40 shares. 40 shares would be the trade size. You do the math, 40 shares right now, and let's say you're looking at $11 gain. $11 times 40 shares is a $440 reward for about, you're looking at like a $7 risk. 7 times 40 shares. Risking 280. It's a little high. Maybe I can go 35 shares. I'll go 35. That's probably the way to play it. The only concern is that I'm not jumping in just yet, but I mean honestly, it's probably valid. The S&P, but it's just got relative strength versus the S&P, so I don't really give a shit about that. Like it just got really good relative strength on the breakout. Now, what you could also think about too is like what I could do is I can even keep it tight. So let's say that AMD ends up not closing today, because it could fail. If it ends up not closing above 151, I could just say, yeah, screw it, I'll get out and I'll play it tomorrow if it's there. My concern would be this gap fill right here, but so far the volume is just super strong, which gets me feeling pretty good about this. Yeah, you haven't had volume this high. Yeah, you're about to break. Yeah, you're about to break even the volume in terms of volume. We're about to get higher volume than the day that we had back on December 7th, where it had a massive move in the first 15 minutes, I should say. So, yeah, we said 35 shares was the number to probably play it at. And then stop loss was 145, and then take profit, I was going for 163 is the trade idea. The downside risk of this, though, well, not downside, I mean, it's SPY. It's just if SPY doesn't do it, and SPY doesn't look terrible either, though. I got more on FedEx. SPY looks like, you know, it's just same thing. It's kind of just consolidating here, and it doesn't look super strong, right? Don't get me wrong, it's not the strongest thing, but it doesn't look terrible. If it was like, you know, breaking down and it was like down here, I would be a little more concerned if it was like break under this low, because that's more a momentum push. You're not really seeing that. I just got an alert for FedEx. FedEx, what's this? And I'll get to the, oh, that doesn't look good at all. That looks like a short to me. Yeah. That's a short to me. Yep. Swing trade short. So the trade on this would be simple to me. It'd be stops. I mean, you can put stop under breaking candle low, or I guess in this case high. But I'd probably put a stop here, and then yeah, it's a big target. Yeah, I guess you could tighten it up to this. That's a good risk reward trade, I think. I think you can get like a 3-to-1. I think you can get a little better than a 3-to-1 there on FedEx. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm gonna jump in on this AMD. Shit, I gotta enter the stop loss. Okay, so we're in AMD. If it closes under the 151, I'll likely just get out of it, because I you know, by the end of the day, if it closes under there, we'll see. But I like the volume and the break. Chinese stocks down this morning. NIA's under 7 Gs. What's going on, Peter? From Palm Beach, Florida. I wish I was there right now. What's going on, Flippa? Took the Russell long. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's kind of well, I still have my eyes set on the Dow when the Dow eventually comes back to life. But overall, let's just jump back and check in. Well, let's check on the Russell. How's it looking? Yeah, it doesn't look super great. It's trying to break down. That's been the spot that's been kind of weak lately, right? You got some better strength. You're seeing some better strength elsewhere, and then you look over at the Russell and the risk-on stocks, and they're kind of just weak. Yeah, we have we had, since being from New England, like snow and ice is common, right? So here, where I'm currently at in Georgia, they had a winter weather advisory. It's northern Georgia, so they had a winter weather advisory. So like it went from rain to like freezing rain. But I drove to the gym this morning, and there was no ice that I could see, that I could tell. It was wet. Rose River's wet. It was like 33 degrees, but not a problem. They close a lot of schools here, though, for that, though. So schools are all closed around here. It's kind of funny. So, yeah, AMD is the trade that we're in. I mean, I'm looking for a swing trade. This is not a day trade. But looks good. You're breaking. I mean, you go on here's a 4-hour chart. I love that look. The 1-hour chart is even nicer to see, I think. You just have, in my view, it's just a really good setup. You have a strong stock that's been uptrending for a while. You had a high that it put in right here at 151. This is back in end of last year. You pulled back, okay, whatever. You pushed back up. You couldn't break that 151, so you showed, okay, that's a key level. Then you pull back, but not a ton. You build a higher low, and now you break it with high volume. It's the textbook breakout setup to me. So, it looks good. We'll see if it works, but I will take that trade every single time I see it. So that's all I can ask for. And I wasn't really necessarily expecting that we were going to get into one today, because I was kind of skeptical of like, I don't know how many chart setups are going to be. But then I saw AMD. I'm like, well, AMD is just strong as shit. So there it is. But other than that, though, Tesla looks like crap. I wouldn't short it. I wouldn't long it. It's got earnings coming up soon, so I would just leave it alone to earnings personally. But that could provide opportunities to the downside, sure, I guess. Earnings is coming up, I guess, next week. So, But it's funny. It's because you think with the market being strong like it kind of has been, you would think that Tesla would be one of the leaders. It's a funny how it's not. I guess that's how it was in years past. Maybe that's just, it's a new era, which is the rotation that we see, which is good. It's not a bad thing. I guess if you're a Tesla holder, then you're like, oh shit, I wish. Yeah, we all wish our shit would go up all the time, but it doesn't work that way. Here's the Dow. So I'm not a. This is what kind of messed with me last week. Either way, it would. I stopped out for on Friday because I just didn't. It didn't hold the breakout. Kind of like what I'll do with AMD. If AMD does not hold the breakout by the end of the day, I'll just get out of it, because then you can reassess and you can try it again tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. Just in case the overnight risk, you don't need to do that. And so I would have gotten stopped out today on the Dow anyway. So I saved myself a few bucks, not a lot, but I saved myself some loose change, I guess. And if the Dow ends up, pulling in, then eventually pushing, great. Let it go. And who cares? I'll get in then. If it gets up there. But if it doesn't do it, doesn't do it. Just respect the risk and keep it tight. Let's go back to that AMD. We had the first 15-minute candle close on AMD. Look at that beast. It's up over 153 now. So yeah, the target is 163. That's what I have in mind on AMD. I think that makes sense. I mean, you could scale out personally. I'm not gonna try to. I'm not gonna try to scale out like 17 times in a trade anymore. Not that I really used to do that, but I just based off commissions with the broker and stuff. It's just not really worth it. So I'm not gonna bother with it. But you have, I think, a nice range. All-time highs are just shy of 165, which is why I like to sell just shy of that. So 163 is the area that I have in mind. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. We'll see. The farther we push, the stop loss comes up. So the current stop loss is at 145. That just makes logical sense to me. That was Friday's low and also this morning's pre-market low. What I could do is I can move that up to the low of today. Maybe, but if we are up, pushing up again tomorrow, I can move it to today's low, which would be approximately 150, and then have a very tight stop and be risking a very, very little bit. And that'll be like a tomorrow thing, not right now. Or if we get to like 160 today, which would be insane. If that happened, then yeah, I guess I can move it up to today. I can move it up there today. So we'll see though. The 15-minute chart was what I was want to look back to. So yeah, let's adjust this. Let's zoom out. I'm going to mark that 15-minute volume on AMD, and let's see how it looks compared to the past couple of months. Oh yeah, let me get rid of this one. This is earlier, I guess. So I just marked this line right there. That's where the volume, the first 15-minute volume candle came in. I know it's tough to see, but the highest volume of the past couple of weeks was right here, right here. About a month ago was here. So that's the highest first 15-minute volume candle we have seen on AMD in the past 2 months. So confirming the breakout, I think even more so. So I like this just to confirm it. It looks good. I like that. And it's showing really good relative strength versus SPY. Now, again, that could change, but SPY doesn't look as strong. But SPY is also not down a ton. It's down 0.6, not nothing. It's a decent amount, I guess. But here's SPY, it's like pushing down to its lows of the day, whereas AMD is at near high a day, which is kind of crazy. So relative strength versus SPY, volume, breakout, chart, lines up. And that's all that needs to be said. And now it either works or doesn't work. Yeah, cup and handle you can say as well, right? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, looks very nice. So, other than that, what else? I'm just going to be checking in on some of these things. Oh yeah, FedEx. Yeah, let's check back to BABA. Yeah, it's not really doing much. Not in this one. I just marked it off as it's where I would risk it, what the idea would be, but not doing much, really. But I like the short. If anything, I like it short versus long. And then FedEx. FedEx was the other one that would be a valid short to me, as it started to break down. If it can finish the day underneath 244, ideally would be a good thing, but just keep an eye on it. I just charted these out this weekend and I set some alerts so that I had them on the list, just so I got something to look at, but not pressing. It's tough. It's also tough for me to play that because, well, it's not a bad short, I don't think, because you have this big gap down after earnings. You've got consolidation, and then you're looking for momentum to follow through for the breakdown. So you got the trend to the downside, and you got lower highs. So it's not a bad look, but I don't know. The market's not. I haven't been hitting shorts lately, so it's like I'm a little skeptical of shorting just yet. But I guess I'm fine missing the top, whatever the top is. If we topped out, I'm fine missing that initial phase. But better probabilities once we start getting more consistency to the downside. VIX is up 5%. The 10 years up a little over 1.6. Yeah, the Russell is just down, a good bit. Jets, so the airline sector's not been doing too well, right? Past 2 days, I should say. It was doing great, I guess, off of the lows in October, which, cool, now it's getting hit. Qs are down, so tech's down about 0.5%. Semiconductors surprisingly are up. The Russell's down 1.2. SPY's down 0.6-ish. Biotech's down 1.8, 1.9. What else is strong? XLP. Staples are looking okay. XLV has been strong. Is there news for AMD? I wonder. Gotta be, right? 2 hours ago, KeyBank adjusts AMD's price target to 195 from 170. Keeps overweight rating. Yeah, I guess. Price target upgrades are not my favorite. But volume is volume, right? Can't really deny it. So I would try to make, well, it's only so much you can do, right? But I hope to do more of these morning streams because this is the time that I'm actually like looking for shit. Once I realize, like, we'll go a little more, but once we get to there'll become a point in time on these streams though, where either there's just nothing that I'm gonna do, or it just I've done what I need to do and that's it. So this is not a trade that I'm going to be day trading. It's a swing trade. I prefer those. They've actually been better for me the past couple of weeks. But I guess the 5-minute trades last week weren't good. Prior to that, they were good. So, yeah. But I prefer trading on the bigger time frames. That's the key. We like to look for shit. Yeah. No, but that's that's what I think it's about for these morning streams. This is like inside what I actually do. What I think works for me, and then there'll be changes, there'll be things that I adjust over time. But right now, the simple setups that I've been trading and being very, I don't know what the right word is, picky, I guess. I've been pretty picky on them, and it's been very good. Because the other part that I think about too is like I really don't envision the need to trade 37 times, 50 times in a month. I did that go back to some of the months last year where we looked at the trade recaps. There were some pretty bulky months. Like we had some pretty big ones where I traded a lot, and either was green, maybe even slightly red. I only had a very only a few months red, believe it or not, and they were small, relatively speaking, compared to the green. So it wasn't bad, but the months that I've traded less, I tend to do better. And that seems to be a recurring theme. And so it's like, I wonder why. Then you boil it down to like just picking good setups, for example, like AMD. Not that this one has to work. I don't need to get attached to it. It doesn't have to work. It doesn't have to do anything. But you're finding a strong stock in a strong sector and a pretty strong market overall, right? It's not like SPY's like a few bucks away from all-time highs. It's like $5 off all-time highs. So, I mean, it doesn't tell me to run away and short. No, it tells me to be, look for the breakouts, the upside. But yeah, like what I was saying is like, I think the goal too is this anyway, and this is a much more sustainable, way in my view to trade longer term because your time frames are bigger. You can look at bigger picture volume, bigger picture trends, and you've got more data on your side almost. And then secondly, like I don't really care how many trades it takes to get to whatever, but like if you trade 3 times in a month and you win 2 out of 3 and you have good risk management, and as you progress, your sizing is to the point where those 2 trades is a couple $1,000s. That's great. It's awesome. I mean, I don't rely upon the money to survive, but it's definitely something that I would love to use as a supplement for sure. I'm not trying to lose money. That's for sure. So, yeah, we were looking at this. This is looking like approximately a $400 target and then a little over $200 risk. So it's probably just shy of a 2-to-1 risk reward, which is good. I think that's totally fine in my view. But yeah, so let's see if I can jump back into here. What else? Yeah, I mean, the semiconductors are looking good. Here's SMH's chart, by the way. I mean, talk about coiling up a little bit here, right? This looks like it wants to set up for a move. I wouldn't trade that. AMD is better chart, stronger, blah, blah, blah. But this looks like it's setting up like it wants to do something as well, which is good. So all the stars, so to speak, are aligned to make it good, make it nice and valid. Tesla. Whoa, yo, what just happened here? That thing reverse mass. That we were talking about how bad that thing was looking, and now it's back up, flat on the day. Past 15 minutes, just this thing was bouncing. Funny how that works. Huh. Check back into Costco. This one hurts me if it's gonna. Yeah. Oh no, actually not bad. It hurt me. If it was like up over 690, it would be like But same thing with the Costco. Like yeah, technically, if you go back to the last trade recap video from Sunday, like yeah, I got in here and I stopped out here because I was like, yeah. It ended up working. These are not like, yes, I am kind of pissed about that. Like yeah, shit. Like it ended up doing what I thought it was gonna do. Just didn't go the path. I was off on the timing, which is fine. But the more important piece is that it still did what I suspected it was going to do based off the patterns and setups I was looking at, which is a good sign. It's a sign that's like, yo, you're still looking at the right things. Like your head's in the right spot. Timing sometimes doesn't work or it doesn't, pan out that way. My stop on that trade was also very tight. So partially because we only had so much time left in the day. So in a perfect world, I would have had a little bit wider stop, which would have, allowed that to stay in and then eventually go to the target. But I kept the stop pretty tight. So like already, like I was saying, like the FedEx was a short idea. And then Baba, we'll look at those two here. Like now, like this is again just kind of confirming to me. It's like it's just tough to short because you're not really getting the follow through. Like yeah, you broke a low, but it's like it just immediately bounced. It's just tough to short when the market's been generally strong. And that's the only concern that I have on the short side. You don't really have the S&P to support that. Same with Baba. It gaps down, a couple bucks overnight. But it's like, well, yeah, and that's a new low of the year of the past couple of this pullback, right? On it, yeah, but, well, I guess not really. It was lower back in 2022. But it's a new low of the past year. But again, like, it gapped down so much, and now it's just kind of sitting flat and actually bouncing up a little bit. It's just like it's not getting follow through on the downside. Like, overall, the short trades have been good if you've shorted into extensions, which I don't do. But if you shorted into extensions like a contrarian, yeah, it's kind of working. Or not kind of, it's depending on where you're looking, right? Weaker sectors, weaker stocks, yeah, it's panning out to be okay. But no follow through momentum, which then leads me to be off in the timing more often, and then it's like easier to stop out, lower win rates. That's just my experience with that, with trading that way. Coinbase is up. Well, it had a pretty bad week last week. DraftKings, it's up. Those are the only two like risk-on stocks that I look at that are up today. Maybe there'll be some more if the market does kind of bounce back, but maybe there'll be more later on. We'll see. Tesla went green. Interestingly enough, that went green. Here's Tesla's chart. Could be a decent reverse today. NVIDIA, 556 now. That thing just seems like it doesn't want to stop. Meta's red. Meta was strong last week. Now it's red. It's just consolidating. Microsoft, new high hit today. AMD at 154. The days also where you break range, not that it was a super tight range and it wasn't range bound for a while, but kind of like NVIDIA, the days that you break range, you tend to have pretty big extensions. So NVIDIA broke range on Monday the 8th, so this is last week, and it had a massive day and it closed at highs. So the suspicion would be AMD is kind of breaking range right now, that if this is going to be a solid move, or if it's going to sustain itself, this is actually, on good volume, which it seems like it is so far, we'll close at highs. Whether that's going to be here or a little bit higher, a lot higher, we'll see. But that'll be a good look. Well, not that I want to just dip out of here so soon. Well, it's been a little over a half hour, but I don't really suspect anything else will happen today that I'll be interested in. That could change, obviously, if we get some big moves in the market, but it seems like that's probably going to be the case. Silver, just very range bound on that. Gold, maybe gold eventually will get up there. Slowly but surely. I still like gold, bigger picture. We'll see if it can get up there. I'll play it when it breaks out if it does. Oil, just tightly coiling up. Oil, I like this setup here for something to happen soon, whether it's up or down. I'm not going to guess, but oil is just coiling up, which is kind of cool to see, because you're probably going to get a big move soon. Bitcoin, this could be a short, but I wouldn't short it. But it could be if it stays and consolidates here. You have a little bear flag look almost, and it could be the next leg down. It's funny how the ETF comes out, Bitcoin gets hit. Not that bad though. I think it gets concerning. Not concerning. It doesn't look great under 41, under 40K, but then you're probably looking at the upper to mid 30s as your next target. But yeah, that's the looks here today. AMD's up almost 5%. It is a lot, but it's up at high a day right now. So we're in the right. Our eyes went to the right place, and so far it's working. We're not up a ton on the. We're up $60, $69 on the trade, but I'm targeting like $350 to $400, I believe, based on the target that I have. Should be the profit target, and then the stop is around 2 to 250-ish. So. With that said, I'm going to wrap things up for today's morning stream, and I hope to do more of these. We may push to doing just these, because the afternoons tend to be kind of boring, but I still want to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for now. Afternoons, that's still the goal. So I'll see you guys then. Any trade recaps I'll drop, but I likely won't have a trade recap unless AMD closes underneath the breakout point today, which would be like 151, or it hits my target. Then I'll have something to talk about. But until then, probably not going to be much to talk about on the trade recap side. But I guess there could always be something new made tomorrow, whatever. So we'll see. But with that said, thanks so much for hanging out, guys, and I'll see